Welcome to the first episode of Prog Will Find a Way. It's a progcast, it's going to be a videocast, and a podcast. I'm Jonathan Block.
I'm Jay Valade.
And we're going to talk about most things prog. Everything won't be prog, but it'll be as prog as we want to make it, right?
Yeah, it won't be every prog.
Every prog band ever, but we'll try to hit everything. So, first thing we want to talk about is there's been a number of new announcements for releases. The Yes album.
The Yes album, Henry Potts, Where Are They Now, noted that the Yes album is going to come out as a 4 CD, 1 LP, 1 Blu-ray box set.
I mean, it's like every format in a box.
Yes, every format in a box, which is cool, but not a lot of new stuff on there.
Also, like, when did that come? Was that 70? Was that 70 or 71?
71.
Okay, so, but early 71, because Fragile came out in 71 as well.
Fragile came out at the end of 71.
Okay,
right?
So 71, so it's not really an anniversary.
No, it's like they're finally getting themselves together to do this.
Well, if they can catch up.
But it also could be because they sold all their catalog.
Oh, did Yes sell the catalog?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That wasn't announced.
Yes, it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Indeed.
How much did they get? Do you know?
They did not disclose that.
Man, that's got to be a bear. Like, how do you figure out who gets what? You know?
I have no idea.
When it's like 4 people and they're like always the same members, it's easy. But you know, how much is Bill Bruford getting? I mean, he's got credits, right?
They've got to do it by album. Or
yeah,
something.
they probably do it by album.
Because I think they got from the first album through Big Generator or something like that.
Oh wow, no talk.
I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but I think it was primarily the main sequence.
All right. And that's coming out, when's that coming out? November?
This Yes album box set is supposed to be November based on the
all right. Well, you know, in a future episode when we actually have pictures and we know what this thing is going to look like.
Because there's nothing except that I've only seen it on the Where Are They Now website, and then there was discussion based on that.
And then another new release that was announced is King Crimson's Larks Tongues and Aspic. This is actually a 50th anniversary, so they're doing it. Steve Wilson is remixing it for the 3rd or 4th time. It's going to be a Dolby Atmos mix, a surround mix, the whole 9 yards. I find what's interesting about this is I think they're not going to do these huge box sets anymore. It's 2 CDs and 2 Blu-rays, and they're just shoving all the stuff on the Blu-rays that they would have put on multiple CD. Now, to be fair, they don't have any live stuff on it, and so it's just the sessions.
But Crimson has already done the big
they're like,
set,
right? They did 30th anniversary, 40th anniversary,
right,
50th anniversary. These I kind of understand because they have to, like every band, and this is why it's interesting Yes isn't doing this yet. Like every band, to keep copyright protection beyond 50 years, you have to put stuff out there, which is why Crimson's been putting out like the sessions for all the early albums, and this set will be a lot of the different sessions too. And a lot of bands have done that, you know, but a lot haven't either.
Right. Well, I think this Yes one will be their first like box set for a particular album.
Right.
The Steve Wilson remixes that had a ton of stuff on each one were great, but they were still just the cardboard, you know.
It's
the
just
mini replicas.
Right. Will
things.
People buy 2 CDs? Yes, they will. They'll buy a lot more.
But I found those were like the best bang for your buck. I mean, when they did the XTC ones have a million things on them.
Yeah.
So also, John Anderson and Roy Stolt have their only album, Invention of Knowledge. It got re-released recently. I just got this on Friday.
Before the release date?
Allegedly, because it came in the mail, and I'm like, I didn't think this was coming out for a couple weeks, but here it is. Did they send me the wrong one?
Huh.
But no, it's
I've seen this.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Is that John?
Record. That's John when he was 5 years old. So
5-year-old John.
It came out. It's orange vinyl.
Oh, got to show that.
You know. And,
oh wow, look at that.
Which is cool. But they remixed it.
Huge run out group.
Well, that's because the last side only is like 13 minutes long.
Yeah.
So
okay.
But They remixed it, and I've listened to the first two sides, and you could tell the difference, particularly on the first side, because it's an extra 2 minutes longer. And if you like this album, I think you'll still like it, but it does have some different moments,
Okay.
which is good.
Right.
I didn't really get into it yet, but it's interesting in that it comes with the lyric sheet is more of a booklet
Okay.
versus the original album, which was
And when did the original come out?
2016,
Wow. It seems like it was yesterday.
right?
Yesterdays.
So the original,
Oh,
same
yeah.
same thing, but
Same concept.
the only thing that changed on the back was the dates on the bottom and the length of the songs. But it came
Oh, kind of
as
old-fashioned.
the old-fashioned regular. The sleeve for the record was the lyric sheets. So what they've done is they've just changed that around. But this was regular black vinyl. So that
Cool.
originally came out, and you got a CD with it. So
Oh, okay.
that's why I got the vinyl back then, because
Nice.
I didn't have a record player happening, but now I do.
All right. I like the orange. That's very cool.
Right?
All right. I think that's kind of the news we want to share. Want to move on? Jay attended Marillion Weekend recently. Was it?
I did.
Was it June or July?
It was actually May. It was my first Marillion Weekend. My wife and I have liked Marillion for a long time, and they've been doing these weekends, and the North America one has always been in Canada. And so we were just sitting around and said, Marillion Weekend again. And she said, let's just go this time. So we went up, and our kids came. They did not attend
Did you
the
drive?
concerts. We drove up.
Okay. How long does it take?
We
to
are
get
in the
from-
Northeast, and
Yep.
we took like 4.5 hours.
Is this
or something like
Montreal?
that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But then
you
the
wonder
way
why-
back,
makes
it-
you wonder why you never went before, right?
Right? It's so easy, and it's like going to Europe from Connecticut.
Yeah.
But it was great. We got an Airbnb. We checked in. It's 3 nights of concerts, and each night different set. And it's
Did
it's
you go
pretty
to?
cool.
You went to?
We went to all
nights?
3. So the first night was they did some stuff from Fear. They did some stuff from Season's End, which they just re-released as
Big
their
box.
their box set. That it was the final one of the
EMI.
EMI years.
Are they going to go keep?
I don't know. Everybody online is like, so are you going to do that?
Was it there? Did they put out the stuff, or is it on?
I think it's
labels?
I think it's EMI, because that's the last
Oh,
EMI.
okay.
So I
Right.
think if they do the future ones, they'll have to deal with each
Whoever.
label that
Right.
put those out.
Okay.
But they did some fun stuff from Season's End, and then they did some stuff from Holidays in Eden. They played Warm Wet Circles in that time of the night, and then they did some more from
Is
Fear.
the venue the same for all 3?
The venue is the same. It's
What
at the
is it?
Olympia, and
Okay.
it's a theater. I think there were seats up in the balcony, but the floor
Floor.
was this stepped.
Okay.
So it was kind of cool. So we found our spot. We stayed there and we watched, and it was great.
All right.
Not overwhelmed with like a ton of people and squished in. So I'm not sure. Haven't been to the ones before. So I don't know
Right.
if they just limit the amount of people or whether this was less
All right.
well attended as the past.
Got it.
Second night was the new album, An Hour Before It's Dark, with about 5 extra
And
songs.
you've got
at
that
the
right
end.
there.
Yes, I have.
That is,
This
of
was
course,
the
super deluxe.
super deluxe that you know,
Pre.
my name's in here because
Yes.
you do the pre-order and
Yeah.
you give them the money
And
up
they
front,
signed.
and they sign it,
Yeah.
and it was very cool. And then the third night was a bit of a night of rarities, which was an interesting thing because a lot of songs I had never heard them do before, but because it was my first
Weekend.
big weekend
Yeah.
thing, I was kind of a little let down in that I was expecting more upbeat stuff.
Okay, so it was more mellower.
It was mellower and deep cuts.
Okay.
Which, I knew the songs, but my wife, who went with me, was kind of like, "Do I know this one? I don't think I know this one." So
B-side.
yeah, well, sort of.
Not even.
Not no. So they did some stuff from Brave, which was great. They opened
Okay.
the set with some Brave stuff, and then they did Born to Run, which I don't remember the name of the album, which album that was. It was either on .com or
Radiation.
Radiation. I think it was
Listen to
Radiation.
me. I
think it was Radiation.
I actually
which is a great
I
song.
actually like that. There's like those 3 or 4 albums that were kind of
That
like
in the middle.
Yeah, in the
zone.
middle there with .com. The one that's kind of bluish on the cover, is that Radiation or is that
Radiation is the one with the person on the beach with like her face on fire.
Yeah. I like those albums.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
I think they're very good.
Yeah. Afraid
There's-
of Sunlight, is that one of those?
No, that's the last of the
EMI. Oh, was that a box already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then they did White Paper, which is a good song, but not my favorite.
Never
But I
heard
had
of
that.
that. Where's that?
That was on Fear.
Okay. All right.
Fruit of the Wild Rose, which is another deep cut. Older Than Me, which is the really mellow. Afraid of Sunrise, they did,
Okay.
which was great. And then Map of the World, which is a fun song,
Yeah.
which is an upbeat song.
I know
But they
that
did
too.
Pour My Love and A Voice from the Past after that, which were kind of on the low down side as well. So
Somewhere Else, that's another album, right?
Yes.
Yes, I like that album too.
and they
Oh,
did
maybe
Somewhere
not.
Else
Okay,
from
good
Somewhere
one.
Else.
There you go. All right.
Then A Few Words for the Dead, which is a great song, and they ended with Garden Party. There was just like a little middle in there that I just wanted some more energy.
And are all the shows at night?
They're all at night,
And-
and they're all at the Olympia, same
Okay.
time, whatever.
But is there any other part of the weekend, or that it's just the shows?
For the Montreal version, it's just the shows.
Okay.
They don't have the fans get together and do all this stuff. We had our kids with us,
Right.
who are older kids, but so we did other stuff during the
Okay,
day.
got
But
it.
we did run into them in the streets, and so it was kind of fun.
Okay.
We ran into
Fun.
to Pete and Mark as they were outside their hotel. We were not stalking. We just happened to walk by after lunch.
Well, if they shouldn't be out in public if they don't want people to say hi. Plus, it's a Marillion Weekend. Come on. Do they have merchandise? Or
They
any
had
stuff
merch. I got my shirt there.
Okay, there
They
you go.
had a ton of different shirts. They
there? What do
had
you got over there?
And got the last pack of playing cards.
Oh, okay. All right. Marillion playing cards.
Really
Nice.
playing cards. I got the turntable cover, the I don't know what it's
The platter mat.
the mat. Yeah.
The mat, yeah.
So
I know it's so funny. We're older.
I got one of-
We grew up with albums, but you forget all these things.
Well, I never changed it and got a custom one
You never
before.
That's true.
I just took what came with the turntable.
Yeah, I couldn't really afford a
So,
lot
yeah.
back then. I don't think bands were really making customized turntable
Customized,
mats.
but it was cool because it's the symbol of the record.
Wow,
And,
cool.
you put it on there and you put your Anderson Stolt
Orange.
clear orange, and you can see right through.
So you gonna go again?
We would definitely go again.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun. 3 days is a lot for the casual fan.
Do you have to you have to buy tickets for the whole?
You buy
thing?
tickets for the whole thing. You get
Okay.
a wristband and
Right, but it's really meant for big enthusiasts, people
of
that
course,
really
yes.
want. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why, as I said, the rarities night is fantastic.
Yeah.
If you've gone a number of years and you're like, finally they're playing stuff we
Right.
haven't heard before. But we hadn't seen them in a long time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we'll wait for the next one, and
Yeah.
we'll get the recap on that. So the other thing we want to talk about is I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this. If you haven't read it yourself, there's believe it or not, somebody wanted to write a book about a Yes album, and they picked Tormato, which in some perverse way Tormato is my second favorite Yes album, Close to the Edge being the first one. But I love Tormato. Maybe because, well, I was going to say because that was the first Yes album I got, but that would have been Going for the One. I remember when Going for the One came out. But there's something about Tormato, I don't know. I mean, other than Circus of Heaven, which was the single. I mean, I don't.
No, Don't Kill the Whale was the same.
Oh, okay. You're right. Yeah, I take it back. I take it back. But after they got through Don't Kill the Whale, which was like 2 or 3 weeks when it was released, they played Circus of Heaven
On the radio?
on the radio.
Oh.
And it was like, that's not the way to get people into Yes. But personally, so I'm just finish this riff and then I want to hear about the book. But the introduction, I mean, the first 2 songs in my mind, is as good as anything Yes ever did.
Yeah, I loved that album. That was my first Yes
Yeah.
album. But as an intro, it was fantastic because I was in high school and listening to whatever was on the radio at the time. And Yes has some challenging songs if you
Yeah.
started with, Tales from Topographic Oceans. But I started with Tormato, and so there were these little short bits and pieces, and I was like, okay, I can deal with this.
I mean, even Arriving UFO, I think, is good. I mean, yeah, it could have had a different title. And they play that live, I think, too.
Not as much as
one
everything else, but
right.
Circus of Heaven they
Yeah.
played all the time.
There's something about that album because to me, it's like, it's the sound. It like just sounds so much like Yes. You have that Chris Squire,
Yeah.
that harmonized bass sound, and then
I think the bass
it's a
is
really,
fantastic.
oh yeah, he really went to town on that. And there's this really distinctive drum sound on that
Yeah.
album too. I just think, people really like to slag it, and they lump it in with Love Beach, which I think is not really
that's not
fair.
fair.
That's not fair
to
by
Yes.
any stretch of the imagination. But I was always disappointed that album came out. I'm not going to say critics liked it. I don't really remember, but I
It's in
remember.
here.
Okay, we'll get to that then. But then they just kind of dropped off. Do they talk about that in there too? So
They talk about that. They talk about
what
that.
What's this book?
It's an
do?
interesting book because I enjoyed reading it, but I was hoping it was going to give a little more insight to the band's view of Tormato, and unfortunately it doesn't. It's
Okay.
a lot about the recording of it. There's some cool pictures in here. It's a lot about the instruments.
Yeah. Oh.
Not being someone
Yeah.
who plays anything, you would
Yeah,
appreciate it more
yeah, I totally
they're
would.
into every little bit about the
Well, you got to get
keys
up
and
to 150 or 200 pages on Tormato.
right, but the technical
Okay.
instruments
Oh, wow.
and the whole they go through all the videos
Yeah.
and
There's some cool pictures in there.
they ask the questions that everyone is asking. It's like, where are the master tapes? Can they
Oh.
remix it? And it's the no answer.
It doesn't. The book does not answer that
It
question.
doesn't, but everyone has a different opinion about things and about the mixing of the album and the EQs and the Dolby or not Dolby and all the stuff that is beyond my realm. But then it goes into every
Okay. Yeah, it looked like backstage passes.
every type of
the Japanese
release
releases
that
with
they
the
did,
O's
and then
on. Okay.
reviews of each release. So it's really in depth on that part. But the as I said, my only disappointment was the lack of band member participation and kind of talking about how they recorded or what their thoughts were as they were putting it together relative to what was going on
At the time, right? That's
Because it was
79, right?
78.
78.
So there was a lot of stuff in music going on, particularly in England, that was anti what Yes was doing. But Circus of Heaven would probably be the most unpunk song you could come up with.
Yeah. It
But
definitely was an
they
interesting
did the
time.
right thing.
Yeah.
Which I
Well, even
really
over
liked.
here, I mean, Talking Heads were big,
But at the time, over here, these bands, 78, everybody looks back, punk. But
yeah.
these bands were still doing mega business.
Well, they were still playing big places.
Playing the Garden, selling out at the Garden,
exactly. There was still an audience. There was still an audience.
Absolutely.
What disappoints me the most, and I'll relate this to what you were talking about in the beginning with the Yes album, is that you've got people putting out box sets now. They're doing surround, they're doing Atmos. So is Yes going to go through everything with just these deluxe boxes? Then they're going to have to go back through. This is an album I would love to hear in surround sound, only because I always remember this one contemporary review at the time when the album came out, and it was like
Probably in here.
It probably is, but it was like they came away with like tired, like exhausted from the album because it just seemed like Steve Howe and Rick Wakeman were just trying to one up themselves. And I think it works for a lot of the songs, but to hear some of that stuff in surround would be very cool.
In retrospect, there's a lot of talk about the instruments in here, and I do when I listen to Tormato, although I love it because it was my first Yes album. There are some sounds that are a little wonky.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it was the tail end, and then they came back with Drama, which we actually have an 8-track of sitting here.
That's right.
And where they kind of went back to the traditional, because Chris Squire's bass used this harmonizer to the whole thing. That's how you get that weird sound.
Love it.
I love the sound. It kind of gets a little weird sometimes with the frequencies of other instruments, but so I understand why they talk about that a lot. So would you? I guess the key is, would you recommend the book?
You have to love Yes.
Okay.
You have to, because I mean
Do
they
you have to like Tormato though?
Oh, I think it's an interesting
Okay.
because, like I said, that's not what they talk about. I mean, there are
Right.
reviews of the songs.
Is there
and-
any quotes from the band members or about anything?
Well, Oliver Wakeman does the foreword,
Okay.
but outside of that,
Not anyone who's
nothing-
in the band at the time.
nothing. Yeah, they talk to all the techs, and
Okay.
they go to all these people, and they find whoever they
Right.
can find. But
Yeah.
there's not a ton of like talking to John
Rick
Anderson
Wakeman or
and
John
Rick
Anderson,
Wakeman.
Steve Howe.
Rick might be in here because of the instrument stuff,
Yes. Okay.
but
the Byrotron.
Yeah.
Yes. Which, if the Byrotron, yes, Tron, it was the next generation of the Mellotron, different company, but it used like.
and
part-
he had invested in it,
He
and there's
did.
a whole story
Yeah.
of that. In
Yeah.
So there's lots of cool stuff in here, but
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I want to know the guts of
Right. What were they
how
thinking
were,
about?
yeah, what
Or how
were
they,
doing?
they're
Yeah.
like the song, what's behind the songwriting?
Which
you
is
know?
fair though.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
But I did like it.
And at the end of the day, like how many books about Tormato are going to be? One, and you have it, so that's great. All right, that seems like a good place to end for this episode. We're in this for the long haul. Hopefully, our plan is to do an episode every couple of weeks. So if there's anything, any comments, please leave them. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to talk about. We've got a whole bunch of stuff we'll talk about in the future, and we're going to get more into it because it's like a Venn diagram. Our tastes overlap in some stuff, but like most fans, there's things I like, there's things you like, and it'll be interesting. And we'll do some versus things too.
Yes.
You know, like
Stuff that he likes,
Stuff
that I'm like,
yeah,
eh,
or vice versa.
and stuff that I love,
Right.
and he's like, you can have that one.
Yeah. It's like, Tales. Did it really need to be 2 albums? I don't know. So we'll get into that. But we appreciate everybody watching. Again, leave us some comments, anything you want to hear. And we'll see you for episode 2.
Yeah, Prog will find a way.
If you want it to.